Civil engineer, ma'am. Ma'am, is it audible? Civil engineer, ma'am.
மேம் குட் மார்னிங் மேம்.
Morning, pa.
மேம் ஒரு 5 மினிட்ஸுங்க மேம். சாரிங்க
Okay,
மேம்.
fine. No issues, no issues.
ஓகே.
Okay, pa.
அம்மா ஆனந்த் கேமரா ஆஃப் பண்ணுங்க. ஹலோ மேம். ஹலோ மேம்.
மேம் கேக்குதா மேம்?
கேட்குதுங்க மேம்.
ஹலோ.
மேம் ஸ்டார்ட்
சொல்லுங்க
பண்ணிக்கலாங்களாங்க
மேம்.
மேம்?
தாராளமா மேம் பண்ணிக்கலாம்.
ஓகே மேம். தேங்க்யூ மேம்.
ஓகே.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar on Linus Torvalds. Before that, I would like to start this session with prayer song and welcome address. Now I call upon Inbatamilan from 2nd BCA to sing the prayer song.
ॐ तत्सत्श्रीनारायणतु पुरुषोत्तमगुरुतु चित्तबुद्धतु स्कन्दविनायक सविता पावकतु ब्रह्ममस्तु तु याग्वशक्तितु येषु पिदा प्रभुतु रुद्रविष्णुतु रामकृष्णतु रहीमतावोतु वासुदेवको विश्वरूपतु चितानन्दहरितु आतिथेयतु अकालनिर्भय आत्मलिङ्गशिवतु आत्मलिङ्गशिवतु
Thank you, Inbatamilan. Now I would call upon Tamilarisi from 2nd BCA to deliver the welcome address.
Good morning, everyone. Respected Principal Sir, Vice Principal Sir, teachers, and my dear friends. I feel honored to welcome you all to this webinar on Linux Torvalds. It's our pleasure to invite the guest of honor, Dr. M.Subha, Assistant Professor and Head, Department of Computer Application, Excel College for Commerce and Science, Komarapalayam, Namakkal districts. Ma'am, we are grateful for your valuable time that we get to share with you. We welcome you
Thank
once
you.
again, ma'am, and welcome all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tamilarisi. Next, we would call upon our honorable chief guest to speak few words about today's webinar and start today's session.
Good morning, everyone. Is it audible to all?
எஸ் மேம்.
Uh,
எஸ் மேம். ஆடிபிள் மேம்.
Dear students, a very pleasant good morning to you all. Hope you're all in the busy schedule. For you, the end semester is nearing. You're all in a very preparation mood. So let us today, I don't want to take much time about the introductory part of this minute. We are going to see about overview of Linux. So that's what I have to say. Within 1 hour, we can't completely know about what is Linux, how to work. So just an overview of Linux, I'll give you very clearly 100%. I'm giving assurance for that. Thank you, students. Ma'am, can we start our session now?
எஸ் மேம். எஸ் மேம்.
Ma'am, okay. Thank you. Uh, the screen is viewed by everyone.
எஸ் மேம்.
Is it shared?
எஸ் மேம். எஸ் மேம்.
Very
ஷேர் மேம்.
nice. Okay, okay. Can I continue?
எஸ் மேம்.
Okay, before entering inside the webinar of Go Between Linus Torvalds, dear students, anyone is having idea about Linux or any idea about Linus Torvalds? Have you heard this word? Students, kindly make this session as an interactive. Anybody heard this word Linus Torvalds before?
Linux is an operating system.
Very nice. Then any other answer from anybody else? What is the word meaning of Linus Torvalds? Any idea from anybody else? Okay, so let us continue. We don't want to waste the time. And so these are the contents we are going to see today. So Linux is an operating system, what she had said, exactly 100%. And who invented? The invention, we can't say it is an invention, and it isn't just a project. So that's the thing we are going to see today. Who has developed this project? That is the person named Linus Torvalds. So that is the name I had given to you as a title. And what are the contents we are going to see today in this overview of Linux is nothing but who is Linus Torvalds and what is the meaning of go between and the introduction of Linux. Then what is file and directory management in Linux and what is the VA editor and what is the shell script. So these are the thing we are going to see today. So this is the agenda for this webinar. And this is the person who's named as Linus Torvalds. And he has developed this, just as a project, he has developed the Linux. While doing his research, he had just developed this. And really, the Linux is not the entire thing he has developed, just he has developed the Linux kernel alone. And with the help of the GNU, and the entire package is said to be the Linux operating system. And what he always used to say is Microsoft is not able. They just make really crappy operating system. That's what Linus Torvalds often used to say. And let us know the next thing. And you know when it was created, the Linux, at the year of 1991 by the person named Linus Torvalds, who is in the picture. And he is a student at the time of University of Helsinki. He has developed this project. And let us see about the next thing. So that's all about this. The person named uh, Linus Torvalds. So that's why I named it as. And let us see about the next topic. Why we are named as go between. What is the meaning of go between? That is nothing but, first of all, you have to know what is operating system. I hope you all learning the operating system papers also. Can anyone answer it? What is operating system? Just define what is operating system.
It is the intermediate between user and the computer, ma'am.
Yes, very good. That's a nice answer. And it is not only the intermediator between the computer and the user, but it's generally you can call it as it is an interface between the machine and the user. Whatever the thing, the hardware is there with the laptop or palm top, whatever the machine may be, your mobile also you can take it. With between the hardware and the software, you can call it as the operating system. And that thing is done by the Linux. So OS manages all the communication between your software and the hardware. So without the operating system, you can't do anything at all. Your software won't work at all. So you're thinking all your machine is doing what you instruct, but that thing is done by entirely by the operating system. So that is very important one. So that's why I named it as go between. So the Linux, the operating system is going between the human and the machine. And otherwise you can call it as the software and the machine, or you can call it as a user and the hardware. So generally it is an interface. So that's why I named it as go between. So it's very important when you have to know what is the meaning of go between and what is the operating system. And I think so you all are in the mobile. Am I correct? You're all attending this webinar in your own mobile. Am I correct, dears?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, of course. Yes, very nice. So how your mobile is working? What type of your mobile are all? all are under the Android. So how far the Android mobile is working based on the Linux. So that is very important. Linux is everywhere. Wherever you're using many things, for example, the car, the refrigerator, the television, and the supercomputers, everywhere and everybody is nowadays using Linux is the main important thing you have to know. And in the mobile, whatever the OS are there, the Ubuntu, the many softwares, and all the things are developed with the help of the Linux. And for example, I had shown some very few figure alone, but in all the way, the Linux is ruling our entire world. And the car, especially in the self-driving car, the Linux is the operating system which is implemented to operate the car. And similarly, the refrigerators, nowadays it is fully automated. That is done with the help of the operating system, Linux. So you have to know the importance of Linux and why you are learning Linux. So it's a learning Linux is very, very important one. In future, Linux will rule the entire IT world. So it is very important to know about the Linux. And let us see, enter inside what is Linux. So this is the picture always. It refers the Linux, the logo, general picture of Linux. And once again, I'm defining you. So Linux is an operating system. And what type of operating system? For example, Windows is also operating system. We are here in India, most probably everyone is working under Windows rather than the Linux. But why we are learning Linux is also because Linux is a reliable and secure when compared to others. Of course, 100%. Obviously, compared to Windows, Linux is an secure and reliable, and of course, it is an open source. That is very important one. And in future, I'll explain you what is the open source. And when the Linux was launched, it was launched on the year 17 September 1991. And the any important thing about the Linux is the 95% of Linux code is written using C language. That is very important one. At the time of development of Unix, and of course that software is also developed with the help of C. And so 95% of Linux is written using a C language. And now let us see about always in India, we are most probably working 195% under the Windows operating system. And we are learning now Linux. So what is the difference? What are the differences between the Windows and Linux? Why we have to use the Linux? Few points I had given. So generally I am explaining you. The first and foremost important thing is Windows is not the open source, but Linux is the open source. Open source meaning it's free. You can just download it in the net and you can install in your system and you can work it. But Windows, it is not possible. Windows, you have to buy it. So that is very important one. You have to buy by giving an amount. You have to buy and you have to work. Otherwise, it's a pirated version you have to work, but that is not the a legitimate one. But the Linux, you can download it very freely in from your web, and you can install and you can run it in your own machine. And the very important second point is Windows you cannot customize. So as you need, as you're required for your company or whatever the organization, whatever the need may be, according to that you cannot customize. But in Linux, according to your need and specification, you can customize, you can choose your own distributions of the Linux and you can use it. So that is a very important one. That's why the Linux is most probably using in all over the world, and that thing is again Linux distribution. And similarly, the third very important point is Windows is vulnerable. For what it is vulnerable? It is vulnerable to viruses and malware threats. Yes, without antivirus software, it is not possible to download anything else. It's the meaning not a possible, but the thing is, if you download it without an antivirus software in your Windows, immediately your system become crash. But in the Linux, everything is handled by the kernel. So Linux, in Linux, it is not very easy. The virus cannot be entered very easily. So that much amount of a strong build-in of the kernel in the Linux. So these are the very important points you have to know. What is the difference between Windows and Linux, and why the people and in everywhere in the IT sectors, the Linux is most probably used. So that is very important one. And let us see about what are the advantages of Linux. What is the advantage? So that's now I said the comparative of Windows and everywhere it is advantage. It is mainly support for programming languages. So all the programming languages you can work in the under the Linux operating system without any issues. Just like in Windows, how far you are using, the same way you can execute your all the programs and you can install it and run it on the Linux operating system. And the second important thing advantage of Linux is open source. That's what I said. Freely you can download and you can install. And similarly, the installation is nothing but it's not a separate operating system. In the Windows operating system, you can work under Windows operating system. In that, you can download the virtual virtual box is available there of the Linux, and that thing can be downloaded and can be installed in the same Windows operating system. You can run it. The meaning is in the Windows operating system environment itself, you can download the Linux virtual from the web and you can install it and you can run it just like in another all other application you are downloading and executing. And similarly, stability, yes, the 100% stability is in the Linux when compared to the other operating system. And then the security, so that's what we already said. Windows and all, it's vulnerable to viruses and malware threats, but in the Linux operating system, it is not a thing. It is very much tedious one to hack it. So that is why its security is more strong and stubborn. And it's in free of cost. Yes, you can get the Linux distributions at the free of cost. Of course, you can get it for the cost also. Few things are all available for the amount, but most probably and famous one also are available in the free of cost. So these are all the advantages of Linux operating systems. And let us see about the Linux distributions. What is this Linux distributions? I think you all hear this word Debian, Fedora, Ubuntu, and CentOS, and Red Hat, and SUSE, and a lot of distributions are there. And very famous one is the Red Hat, and it's an ruling the entire world. It's a big shot. The Red Hat is not the CentOS is nothing but the one type of a commercial part of the Red Hat, and Debian. And these are all the things you can download it and you can use it. And Red Hat, many of the things are available for the free versions. You can just download it, and according to your requirement, you can change that particular OS and you can use it. So that is the main thing of Linux distributions. Can I move to the next slide? Any clarification needs, students? Students, can I move? Okay. So, and this why the Red Hat is a very important one, is an ruling the entire world, is an first one in the Linux distributions. Many things are there and it's in free of cost. You can download it and you can run it in your own system. Of course, in the Windows OS itself. And let us see now what are the companies which are using the Linux. The main probably is Cisco, Microsoft, even Microsoft company, even though the Windows operating system is developed by the Microsoft, but they are using the Linux operating system for developing many applications. And similarly, Wikipedia, Netflix, Amazon. So all these companies' servers, mainly servers are built with the help of the Linux. So that much of strong thing. And so that's why the Linux is very famous one. And you have to learn more thing about the Linux. See the McDonald's and SpaceX and NASA, even NASA, IBM, Google, Tesla, all these companies' servers are based on the Linux operating system because the security is very more and it's very lightweight. When compared to the other operating system, Linux is very lightweight and more secure. So that's why they are using Linux operating system as the server operating system for all these companies. And see, gradually at the year of 1995, the Unix is an entirely occupied all the IT world. But gradually, the Linux gets started at the year of, it's introduced in the period of 1997, and by 2000, it started ruling as thing. And similarly, see the 2005, somewhat it's come to the entire world as a 60%. And 2015, the data, see, the entire world is occupied with the help of the Linux operating system. And similarly, in around the world, the top 500 supercomputers are run on Linux. So it is very, very important one because of its advantages and its characteristics. All the supercomputers, leading 500 supercomputers are running under the Linux operating system. It's very important one you have to know. And now let us see about what is open source. So just in a few lines, I have to explain what is open source. Nowadays, everywhere we are talking open source, open source, open source. Of course, you will learn, you heard the word Python. So Python is also nothing but the open source software. So what is the meaning of open source software? So open source is nothing but the free of cost. You can download it from the internet and you can use it. Free of cost. Because of downloading free of cost from the web, it is not entirely said to be an open source. Meaning the code which is downloaded from the website and you can edit according to your need. So that is the possibility of open source. And again, that thing can be used by the others. Yes. Any clarification? Any queries from that side?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Can I continue?
Yeah, ma'am.
Yes. So the open source meaning, no, not only the free of cost, but it also you can view and edit the software. Yes. According to your need, you can add something. Some codings can be added. Some codings can be deleted. All the modifications can be done by you. So that is possible. That's why it's said to be open source. That is the real term of meaning of open source. And see, and similarly, the Linux, technically what you are referring is nothing but the just Linux kernel, which was developed by our title name is nothing but Linus Torvalds. Yes, he has just developed the Linux kernel alone. And along with the GNU alone, the entire thing is said to be an Linux. So with the, you can download the Linux kernel and you can edit something, you can modify something, whatever you need, and you can use it according to the need of your company. So that's what I had given here. So just go through it. And again, of course, you can redistribute as you can download it from the distros. So distros is nothing but the distributors. Similarly, you can edit and you can upload it, and that thing can again be redistributed and it can be downloaded by the others also. So that is said to be the open source. So every year, day by day, it is downloaded by the many peoples in the world and it is modified and it is updated. So till now also Red Hat is an top leading company which is upgrading the features of the Linux. So that is very important one. And many versions that can be modified and you can use it. So, so far just we had seen the overview of just Linux. So what is a Linux and what is open source and why it is more advantageous when compared to the other operating system and how far it is ruling the entire world of the IT. So this is nothing but the overview of Linux. So let us now move to the file and directory management. So inside the Linux, what is the main thing? We are calling it as the files. Of course, in Windows, I think you all heard a directory and drive, C drive, D drive, E drive, and directory is nothing but the folders. The name of folders, we can call it as the folders. The directories are called it as the folders. And then the files which are whatever you created are stored in the folders, and the folders which are available in the drive. But here in the Linux operating system, everything is said to be as the file. Even your hardware devices, what are the hardware devices? Your input output devices, for example, keyboard, the mouse, the printer, and our extra pen drives, and whatever the thing, everything here in the Linux is said to be the file. So that is in the Linux. And let us see about what is happening in the file management in the Linux. And file and directory management in the Linux is nothing but under three types. What is the three types? Regular files, directories, and special files. So what is the regular files? So ordinarily what you create a program and what you created some letters or some application, what you created with the help of some compilers or with the help of some applications or with the help of some text editors, whatever you created by your own, by the user, all those files are said to be the regular files. And what is directory? The directories are nothing but the folders. So whatever the folder you created, here everything is said to be the directories. And in the directories, you can put all your regular files. And the third type of files are called as the special files. What are the special files? So whatever the physical devices which are connected to your computer, those things are called it as the special files. Yes, without the drive, without the software of the particular hardware or devices, it is not possible to communicate with that. So just it is all chips. It's all about the processors, so microcontroller, microprocessors. So how to make the microprocessors to respond to you is only with the help of this special files. So all these things here in the Linux are called as the special files. It comes under a three category: regular files, directory files, and the special files. In the directories, in the root, everything is created. From that, you can go wherever you need with the help of some command. So in the Linux operating system, everything is based on the command. By typing the command, you can access all the things. Now let us see about what is the general files with the help of the picture. All the ordinary files what you created is called as the general files, ordinary files. And see here, whatever the created, the images, the program, and simply text files. And these are all the things which are stored in the format of ASCII or in a binary format. And these are all, see here, this in the binary format, you can store it. This is generally called as the general files. And see here, directory files. What is the directory files? Here, each and every drive. So these all seems to be like in the Windows also you had seen. But here in this Linux, so like things, it will be, seems to be, see here, media. So media is nothing but whatever you are inserting the pen drives. So all those things will be in the device default D drive. So that in that directory, you'll use it. And similarly, if you're accessing any videos, the images, all those things will be in the media. So see here, there's a separate file. But whatever the picture, the icon, which seems to be like a drive, but here in Linux, it is acted as a file. So the generally a directory is nothing but the warehouse. So all the things which are stored in the particular files. So this is very important one. And now let us see how it was accessed. So the main thing is root. So here the entire thing comes under a single point. It starts from a single point. Linux starts from the single point. That single point is said to be the root. From the root, you can create at the another level. So that is nothing but the bin. So whatever the program files in Windows, I think so you all heard program files. In the program files, all the compilers, for example, you have an experience of executing C++, Java program, and C programming. All those things are stored in the Windows operating system in the program files. But here in Linux, all those things are stored in the a bin directory. That is very important. Similarly, the users are nothing but your system may be a multi-user and the admin will be there. All those things will be in the user folder. And similarly, the temporary files, whatever the files you need to work, all those things will be in the temporary. Similarly, the devices, the input-output devices, for example, your pen drive which is connected to your system, your mouse which is connected to your system, your keyboard which is connected to your system, a printer which is, or fax, whatever it may be, which is connected to your system, all those softwares, the files will be stored in this device drive. So this is very important. So device is the directory which is used to hold all those softwares of the input-output hardware devices. And so far, just we had seen about the files and the directory thing. And in future, we will see, and later we will see how far the files and directories are accessed with the help of the shell command. And these are the base thing, how far it is. Did you all understand the scenario of how the Linux is working? How far the Linux operating system will be seems to be there? Students, did you all understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Any doubts, students? Hope you all understand. Any doubts? Can I move to the next screen?
Okay, ma'am.
Can I move it? Okay. Next, we are going to see about shell and kernel. It's very important. If you are learning about a Linux, you have to know what is the shell and kernel. That is very, very important. And what is that kernel? I had said many times kernel. What is the kernel? The kernel is nothing but the heart of the operating system. Yes, whatever the operating system may be, but the kernel is very important. It's the main thing. It's all, you can call it as nucleus. Yes, kernel is the nucleus of the operating system. And this kernel is nothing but it's an innermost part. Of course, it is in the heart of the operating system, but kernel, you can say it is in very innermost, but shell is nothing but the outermost. By seeing this, you can understand the Linux architecture. See here, this is an hardware. For example, your CPU. The hardware is nothing but your CPU. A CPU is entirely made up of the machines. Am I correct? Everything is in a hardware. Your motherboard, with the help of the motherboard, with the help of the microprocessor, it's entirely built together and it's working. and your monitor. Of course, it is also your hardware, and how all these hardwares are getting working with the help of this kernel. So kernel is the innermost one, and the next one is the shell, which is an outermost one, and which is acted as an interface between the user application and with the hardware. So the applications and whatever the utilities you are using in your system, all those things are communicating your hardware with the help of this kernel and the shell. So this is the thing you have to know very importantly. For example, you are sending some mail by opening your system. You're opening your web page with the help of the browser. You're opening a Gmail application and you're sending a mail. And how far the mail is, the message what you sent is received by the another system. All the with the help of this, how far the machine understand. All the because of this kernel and shell. It's very important one. Do you understand the architecture of the Linux? Any doubts? Any
No,
doubts,
ma'am.
student?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Any doubt, we can stop at the same place and you can clarify, then we can move it. And somewhat by definition, you'll understand very easily what is kernel. So just now I had said it is an heart of the operating system, or you can call it as a core of our computer operating system. And see the control, the complete control of your system is handled by the kernel. And what type of controls and how far the resources are managed by the kernel. Linux, importantly, Linux kernel is nothing but the file management, the process management, input output management, the memory management, device management. All these things are managed by the Linux kernel. It's very important one. Without Linux kernel, it is not possible to access your Linux operating system. Okay, so that's what I said that Linus Torvalds just he has developed the not the Linux operating system, just the Linux kernel he has developed. And which one you can say it as the complete Linux system is nothing but this kernel plus GNU and libraries and the other management scripts. All these things are together, call it as the Linux operating system. So this is what you have to know. And again, somewhat the important point you have to know what is kernel and shell, how far the shell will gets work. The shell will gets work with the help of the command line interface system. And of course, nowadays all become a GUI. GUI is nothing but graphical user interface. But two or three decades before, we just use the command line everything, not the GUI. But nowadays, everywhere it is a GUI. A GUI is ruling everywhere. And similarly the types of shell, and once again in later I'll explain you a very thing clear about the and shell. Let us see about the next one. So see how far it gets work, the commands now I had given here, how far the thing of the Linux architecture work. And now let us move about the and shell. So this is the thing. Now we have to know about the shell. So kernel, you understand? I think so. It's a very important one. That's why it's very strong enough. Without kernel, you can't communicate your hardware. So that is very important. So the security, why you are going for shell? In shell, whatever you do, that thing will not affect the kernel. But suppose if you are writing in code in the kernel itself directly, suppose the what you return the code is an error and it collapses the entire system. The entire system hardware devices gets collapsed. So to avoid that, you're going for the shell. So that's why it's said to be an outer part of the kernel. So, but if there is any error in the shell, it will not affect the kernel. And similarly, whatever the error, if you do it in your application, so that's just in there itself, you can do all the modifications. So that's why the shell is very important one. Shell is broadly classified into two categories, command line shell and graphical shell. Previously, I had told you, command line is nothing but everything you have to type it with the keyboard. All the thing which will executed with the help of the command alone. And it will communicate with the kernel and it will answer it. It will get an input from the keyboard and it will display the output. That's what the work of shell. What is the main thing of shell is? It's an intermediator between your utility in sense your application and the kernel machine. and both the things, shell and kernel, combinedly acting as an interface between, again, with your utility or application with the hardware machine. Then what is the importance of shell is, whatever the mistake you have done will not affect the kernel, because the kernel is a hard part, the whole, the nucleus should not be affected. So that's why we are having a shell. And I think so now you understand what is the CUI and the graphical. CUI is nothing but the, CLI is nothing but the command line interface, and GUI is nothing but graphical user interface. And see how it gets work. You'll be able to understand the system. See how, yeah, you by in the screen, the system, you will write the shell codings, the commands, and that will send to the operating system. The meaning is to the kernel, and it will reply it to the shell, and the shell displays the output to the user. You can view the output. So this is the very important one. So with the help of shell, you are getting the answer from the kernel, and the help which will display the output. So it's very important, and I think so. Hope it the screen will explain very clearly of what is the role of shell and what is the role of kernel. And these are the many variants of the shell. There is a bash shell, ZHH shell, fish shell, TCSH. And these are all some of the variants of shells. So it's a development in the shell. And before going to shell, you have to know about the terminal. What is the terminal? So without terminal, you can't use the shell. So terminal is also one of the program. Shell is also software, a system program, and the kernel is also system program. The terminal is also system program. And what is the important thing of terminal is, with the help of the terminal alone, you can type your command, a shell command. With the help of the terminal alone, you can visualize the output of the shell. So the terminal is very important. So terminal is act as the editor. So the terminal is the place which holds the editors. With the help of that, you can execute your shell, and shell will takes the input and displays the output. So that is very important. See how it gets work. So this is the terminal. In the terminal, you will enter the shell coding, and the shell, what it does is, give it to the kernel, and kernel will return back the output, and the shell displays the output in the terminal. So this is what the important process going with the help of the terminal. Of course, the terminal is also a command line interface, and nowadays all the terminals which are working under the graphical user interface. Now let us see about the next two topic. Just we had seen the first two things. Once again, I'm summarizing you. The first thing is the overview of Linux we had seen. The next we had seen what are the file and directory management in the Linux. Then the third, we had just seen the importance of shell and kernel. What is shell and what is kernel, and what is terminal? So without the terminal, you can't type the command of the shell, and without the shell, you can't get the output of the kernel. The kernel is sending the output to the shell. Shell reads the input and send it to the kernel, and kernel processes it and sends the output to the shell, and the output of the shell is displayed in the terminal. And these are the important thing, you have to know it. Now we are going to see about the text editors. That is nothing but VA editor. The VA editor, which is the default text editor available in the Linux. And now see, we are going to see just an overview of the VA editor. So there are many editors, text editors are there, which is related to the Linux. The first one is the VA one, is the world famous one, a default editor. And the next one, the next version of the VA is nothing but a VIM editor. And the next one, there are other variations also, Emacs, GNU Nano, Get-It. So these are all some of the text editors. So depending upon the operating system, for example, Mac operating system, they will use one type of text editors, and Windows operating system, they will use one type of text editors. So whatever the text editors, you can use it. You can, depends upon your operating system, you can use it. And let us see about somewhat briefly about the VA editor. So VA is nothing but visual editor. The expansion of VA is nothing but visual editor, and is very user friendly and the most powerful, and also And very important thing is VA editor comes under all the Linux distros, whatever the distributors may be, for example, Fedora or Ubuntu, and whatever it may be. In all those things, CentOS, everywhere, the VA editor as a text editor comes as a default one, as a default text editor. And nowadays, we are using a Vim. Vim is nothing but the visual editor improved one. So that's why the short form is said to be an Vim. And now let us enter inside the VA editor. So VA editor has two modes for operation. One is command mode, the another one is insert mode. What is the command mode? So whatever the action you are doing inside the shell, in the editor, all those things work under the command mode. And insert mode is to type whatever the text you want. So all those things should be done in the insert mode. So let us see one by one what is this command mode and what is this the insert mode. The command mode is to open the editor. So just see here and see here from the terminal you will go enter inside the VA editor. So the VA editor seems to be like this, and see all the left sides are a tilde symbol, and with the help of the file name itself you can open your text editor. So that's why it's given with the file.txt. And just to open, to close, to save, all these commands can be done in the command mode. Suppose you have to text something, type something, some coding you have to type it in the thing of that editor. Then you have to convert the command mode into the insert mode. Just very simply you can shift over from the command mode to insert and insert to command. So by default it is open in the command mode. Suppose if you have to go to the insert mode, just press the I in your keyboard. Automatically it's converted into the insert mode. And suppose if you are escaping just if you are pressing escape key, it's by default it's converted to the command mode. So this is the way you can switch between the command mode and the insert mode very easily. And see how you can create a new file in the text editor by typing the lecture vi and the name of the file. So automatically once you press the enter key, so this is the screen you will get open by default in the command mode. And afterwards you can press the key I, then it's converted to the insert mode. See here the second picture. See in the second image, there is a text tab in welcome to Java T point. This is VT tutorial. So something many things are typed. These all the things can be typed only if it is in the insert mode. How you can move it to the insert mode? Just by pressing the I. Once you typed all the text, again if you want to save it or you can quit from the file, then just like that you can press the escape. Once you press the escape, automatically the mode is converted into command. This is what you have to do it. And see some of the editing commands. So these are all some of the commands. In your lab, I think so, just use it and do, or in your laptop also, just you can download it from your on internet, a virtual box of the Linux, and you can install it and you can run it and see. And by default, the terminal will be there and the script is also will be there. Just you can use it and go through it. Practically, just use it. Do it practically and you can understand more easier. And these are the some of the commands which is given. You can use it while typing the codes. And how you can move the file? Yes, of course, you can move the file inside the file. You can move it very easily with the help of the keys. See here, if you press the key K, then the cursor will be moved in the upside. Just if you press the J, automatically the cursor will be moved down. So in the Windows, you can use the arrow keys. Left arrow, right arrow, up arrow, down arrow. But in the Linux, if you're inside the editor, just you should use these keys for moving the cursor. If you press the K, then automatically the cursor move up one line. Suppose if you press the J, it comes down one line. Suppose if it is a H, the cursor will be moved left only one character, it moves to the left. And similarly, if you press the L, then it moves to the right. So these are the keys which are used for navigating inside your VI text editors. And similarly, the file what you created with the help of the VI editor, that can be saved and closed. How you can save and close? So here some of the commands which is given. Shift plus Z will save the file and it will quit. And also you can just save it oftenly. Suppose any current is, any tripping off is there, any fluctuation in your current, if you feel here and now, often you have to save it, but the file must be in open. Then you can just press it, the colon and W. So it will be, the file will be saved and it gets open. Suppose without saving, if you have to quit your file, then just press it colon and Q. Q is the command word which is used for quitting without saving. Suppose if you have to save the file and you have to quit, just you can press both W and Q. So in the same order you have to do it. You should not give Q and W. It is wrong. And Q is for quitting and W is for saving. So first you have to press the W, then you have to press the Q. Automatically the file what you created you are under in the text editor will be save and quit. So these are the commands you have to use it. And now let us see about the shell scripting. So before that, anybody having any doubts in the V8 text editor and in the commands of the text editors? Students?
Text editorல டவுட் இல்லைங்க மேம்.
Okay.
உபுண்டுக்கும் லினக்ஸ்க்குள்ள டிஃபரன்ஸ் மட்டும் சொல்லுங்க மேம்.
எதுக்குமா? லினக்ஸ்க்கும்
லினக்ஸ்க்குள்ள டிஃபரன்ஸ்
புரியல. லினக்ஸ்க்கும் ஃபர்ஸ்ட் என்ன சொன்னீங்க?
உபுண்டு மேம்.
டிஸ்ட்ரிபியூஷன்ஸ் லினக்ஸால டெவலப் பண்ண ஒரு டிஸ்ட்ராஸ் உபுண்டு. ஓகேவா? லினக்ஸ்ங்கிறது மாதிரி ஒரு ஆப்ரேட்டிங் சிஸ்டம். அந்த ஆப்ரேட்டிங் சிஸ்டம் என்ன அப்படின்னா உங்களுக்கு வந்து ஓப்பன் சோர்ஸ்னா என்ன, ஃப்ரீ ஆஃப் காஸ்ட் மட்டும் டவுன்லோட் பண்றது இல்ல. நீங்க எந்த இடத்துல வேணாலும் நீங்க வந்து அதை எடிட் பண்ண முடியும். அந்த ஆப்ரேட்டிங் சிஸ்டம்ங்கிறது என்ன, ஒரு ப்ரோக்ராம் தான், ஒரு சிஸ்டம் சாஃப்ட்வேர். அது நம்ம டெவலப் பண்ண ஒரு ப்ரோக்ராம். நீங்க எப்படி வந்து சில, ஜாவால, பைத்தான்ல எல்லாம் ப்ரோக்ராம் எழுதுறீங்களோ அந்த மாதிரி லினக்ஸ் ஆப்ரேட்டிங் சிஸ்டமும் சி யூஸ் பண்ணி ரைட் பண்ண ஒரு ப்ரோக்ராம் தான். இப்போ நீங்க அந்த ப்ரோக்ராமை வந்து நீங்க எதை வேணாலும் மாடிஃபை பண்ணிக்கலாம். ஏன் மாடிஃபை பண்ணலாம்? உங்களோட கம்பெனி, ஒரு ஆர்கனைசேஷனோ உங்களோட நீடுக்கு தகுந்த மாதிரி அந்த ஆப்ரேட்டிங் சிஸ்டத்தை நீங்க மாடிஃபை பண்ண முடியும். அப்படி மாடிஃபை பண்ணக்கூடிய கெப்பாபிலிட்டி ஃபீச்சர் வந்து லினக்ஸ்க்கு இருக்கு. அதுதான் அது ஓப்பன் சோர்ஸ்ங்கிறது சொல்றது. ஃப்ரீ ஆஃப் காஸ்டா அந்த ஃபுல் ப்ரோக்ராமையும் டவுன்லோட் பண்ணி உங்களோட ரெக்குயர்மெண்ட்டுக்கு தகுந்த மாதிரி நீங்க மாடிஃபை பண்ணி அகெயின் அதை நீங்க ரீடிஸ்ட்ரிபியூட் பண்ண முடியும். அப்படி அந்த உபுண்டுங்கிறத வந்து ஒன்னு டெவலப் பண்ணாங்க. இப்போ உபுண்டு எங்க இருக்கு? மொபைல்ல நிறைய யூஸ் பண்றோம். அந்த ஆப்ரேட்டிங் சிஸ்டம்ல ஃபீச்சர் என்ன? மொபைல்ல சில ஆண்ட்ராய்டு மொபைல்ஸை ஒரு அந்த ஆப்ரேட்டிங் சிஸ்டம் மூலமா நீங்க ஆப்ரேட் பண்ணீங்கன்னா சில ஃபீச்சர்ஸ் வந்து அட்வான்டேஜ், இமேஜஸ் எப்படி இருக்கலாம், ஃபாஸ்டா டவுன்லோட் ஆகுதா, அதனோட மற்ற ஃபீச்சர்ஸ் எப்படி இருக்கு, மற்ற அப்ளிகேஷனை வந்து எப்படி அது வந்து கனெக்ட் பண்ணி உங்களை இன்ட்ராக்ட் பண்ண வைக்குது, இதெல்லாம் வந்து உபுண்டுல இருக்கு. அப்படின்னா அந்த உபுண்டுங்கிற நேம் வந்து அவங்க கொடுத்துருக்காங்க, மாடிஃபை பண்ணினது. இன்னுமே கொஞ்சம் உங்களுக்கு எக்ஸாம்பிள் சொல்லணும்னா, for example, you are having some raw material with you. With the help of the raw material, you can do anything else. For example, if there is a clay with you on your hand, clay is like a Linux operating system. The Linux program is there. Clay, compare a clay with the Linux operating system. With the help of a clay, each and every person can design their own toys. Am I correct? Or some person will design, create elephant. Some person can create a house. Some person can do anything else. So it depends upon their need. With the help of the clay, they can do their own need. And they will name it. For example, if they design an elephant, and they will name it as elephant. If they design a house, they will name it as house. Similarly, with the help of the Linux open source, they developed one thing and named it as Ubuntu. Do you understand, ma?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
You can develop your own operating system. You can develop your own Ubuntu. And you can name it as another name. By your name, you can name it. So that is the best thing of Linux. Any doubts?
No, ma'am.
Any doubts? Okay. Can I move to the next part, shell scripting? Now it's time is 12:25. Ma'am, civil engineer ma'am, can I continue?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Continue, ma'am. நோ இஷ்யூஸ் மேம்.
நோ மோர் இஷ்யூஸ்மா. இப்போ
நோ மேம்,
கிளாஸ்
நோ மேம்.
இருக்கா உங்களுக்கு அடுத்த அவர்?
இல்லை மேம்,
லஞ்ச்
கிளாஸ்
டைம்
இல்லைங்க மேம்.
ஆயிருக்கும்.
இல்லைங்க மேம்.
லஞ்ச் டைம்
நீங்கள் நோ
ஒரு
மேம், கண்டினியூ பண்ணுங்க மேம்.
ஒரு 15 minutes கன்டினியூ பண்ணிக்கலாம்ல?
எஸ் மேம், எஸ் மேம். தேங்க்யூ மேம்.
Okay, okay, pa. Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, now let us move fastly because I think so. I am killing your lunch time. You are all very hungry, so just I'll take 15 minutes more, dears. Let us see the next topic called shell scripting. I think so. You are doing a lab also under shell scripting. So, what way you are going to do the shell scripting? So, this is the shell. Shell is protecting the pearl. The pearl. கேள்விப்பட்டிருக்கீங்களாமா? முத்து. முத்து வந்து அந்த ஷெல்குள்ளதான் இருக்கும். அந்த முத்துங்கிறது என்ன அப்படின்னு பாத்தீங்கன்னா உங்களோட கர்னல். அந்த கர்னலை எப்படி ப்ரொடெக்ட் பண்ணுது அப்படின்னு பாத்தீங்கன்னா இந்த ஷெல் யூஸ் பண்ணிதான். அப்போ இந்த ஷெல் ஸ்கிரிப்டிங் நம்ம எப்படி பண்ணலாம், நம்ம கர்னல் வந்து எப்படி நம்ம ஆக்சஸ் பண்ண வைக்க முடியும் வித் ஹெல்ப் ஆஃப் ஷெல் ஸ்கிரிப்டிங் அப்படிங்கறத நம்ம வந்து இப்போ ஜஸ்ட் ஒரு கிளான்ஸ் வந்து நம்ம பார்க்க போறோம். ஒரு ஓவர்வியூ ஆஃப் ஷெல் ஸ்கிரிப்டிங். See here, செல் ஸ்கிரிப்டிங் அப்படின்னாவே யூசர்ஸ் இருந்து இன்புட் வாங்கி அதை எக்ஸிக்யூட் பண்ணி உங்களுக்கு அவுட்புட் கொடுக்கும். எப்படி எக்ஸிக்யூட் பண்ணுது அப்படின்னா, நீங்க கொடுக்குற இன்புட் அத்தனையுமே இட் வில் பி சென்ட் டு த கர்னல். Actually, really kernel will process it and it will send the output to the shell and shell will be display the output. So this is main thing you have to know about the shell scripting. Okay, and why it is that is generally said to be in shell. A shell gets the input and executes and it will give the output. But what is the thing of shell scripting is nothing but why it generally called as scripting. A scripting means you can write more. Many thing you can write. Many lines will be there. That is generally we can call it as scripting. And what are the many lines in shell? Many commands. So in an ordinary thing, a command by command you will execute. That gets much time enough. For example, system administrator. Who is the system administrator which controls the entire system? For example, in BCA lab, you are having many systems. In exam cell, there will be and many computer systems are there. And in the another class, maybe in some systems will be there in the principal office. So there are many computers which are connected together, and all those things should be administered by a particular person. How they will administer? They will not give a command by command each and every time. It is not possible. It's get much time enough and it's very tedious and very ridiculous. So in order to avoid that, all the often using commands, very often using commands. What are the very often using commands? Whether all these systems are working and or it's all very secured, and how far the message, the data is transferred from one thing to the another one. All often using commands are grouped together, and that thing is said to be the scripting. So what is the shell scripting? Or more commands, more than one commands are combined together and execute under the single time. That is nothing but the shell script. Do you understand, students? So shell programs are nothing but group of commands in a single package. So most probably the administrators will use this type of scripts. So that is called as shell scripts. Do you understand, students? Any doubt in this? This is the sentence. You have to know it very clear enough. What is the shell scripts? So bunch of commands routinely it will be executed in the terminal. Okay, for example, in the Windows OS, they will use the batch files. Suppose if they are using MS-DOS are all command line or interfaces. But nowadays we are using the Windows OS and a group of things. Suppose if you have to activate it in the commands mode of Dina, that thing is said to be in batch file in the Windows. But here in the Linux, we will use it as in the group, which is called as the shell scripts or shell programs. And all these files are which is stored in the .sh. Extension is the .sh. Now let us see. Of course, you can apply the conditional statements, the looping statements. All those things can be done possible. It is possible in the shell. What is the thing? For example, many number of times you have to check all the system. That thing can be iteratively done with the help of looping system in the shell script. All those commands are put in the loop. Suppose, for example, if you have to control something, somewhere else you have to control from one program to the another program, then that thing is also be done under the shell scripting. So these are the conditional execution can be done in the shell scripts. I think so you are very clear about why you are learning shell script. What is the importance of shell script? And see here, there are some few points I had given you for your remembrance. To avoid repetitive work, the shell script is used. Just you can combine, you can group all the commands, and system can be monitored very easily. What type of systems? Not a single system. N number of systems can be monitored by the system administrators with the help of this shell script. And some of the advantages are nothing but quickly you can do it, and whatever the thing you can identify it. The security can be done very easily. And few disadvantages are also there in the shell scripts. In what way? In some execution speed is somewhat very slow enough, because if it is a huge network and it is comes very slow enough, and these things can also be recovered very easily. And similarly, minimum data structures can be provided in the shell script. But when compared to other scripting languages, I think you all aware about JavaScript, VB script, all those things, data structures, all type of data structures can be used. But here in the shell script, only a minimum data structure is alone is possible. So that is, these are all some often disadvantages of using shell scripts. Can I move to the next one? Let us see how to create a shell script in U. So just go to the text editor like VA editor. By default, it will be there in your terminal alone in your system. And just name the file with the extension .sh. And whenever you are entering inside the thing, the first statement should be start always in this shell script with the hash exclamatory mark /bin/sh. It's very important, because the bin, I already told you, program files, whatever the program files, all those things will be stored in the bin, and / indicates the root. So from the root, you are started with the bin, and bin you are going for the sh, and then you are starting your shell script programs. And afterwards you can write the code and again save it, and you can execute it. And these are all the things. How will you run is nothing but you should type bash, then filename.sh, then automatically it gets run and the output will be displayed in your screen. So this is the step for shell script creation. Now let you make you to watch the shell script, how it gets worked. See here. So this is the hardware, you're the user. So just with the help of the terminal, come from the right to left, students. See the picture from the right side. So user, you're writing a program in the terminal. The terminal will send all the thing with the help of the shell, and shell will send the whatever the inputs read by from the terminal to the kernel. So kernel is nothing but the internal part of the operating system. The shell is nothing but the outer part of the operating system. And the kernel reads, and it will communicate the hardware. The hardware will send the output. The kernel will again send the output to the shell, and shell will display the output in the terminal, and that thing will be viewed by the user. So this is the important thing of the shell script. So you see here, I had given one example how it is. So in the shell script, just a echo is just like a print statement. In C and all, you use printf, and here in the shell script, you'll use the echo. Echo within double quotes. What is your name? If you typed, automatically it will display it as a what is your name. And in the C, you will use the scanf for reading the input from the user. But here in the shell script, you'll use read as the command to read the input, and the variable's name is person. For example, integer I, and scanf, and with the format specifier, you can use the I, ampersand I. See here, if it is a string now, you will not use an ampersand, and because here is everything is in a string format in the shell script, just you can use the variable name alone under the read command. So whatever the input you will give for the person, it will be stored in the variable name person. Again, it's a code. A code is nothing but the print statement. And once you type all these things, just see a bash and the name of the file name with the .sh, and see here it is displayed like this. Suppose if you type the input, and again it will be displayed. So this is what it's happening in the shell scripts. Just see here. So bin / from that sh, it will be start. You can start typing all the commands in the insert mode. And once you type all the command in the insert mode, again convert to the command mode and save it and quit. And then just execute. Execution is done with the help of bash. So everything starts from the dollar symbol. So dollar symbols, you are in the terminal, it specifies the terminal, you're going to communicate the shell. So tilde symbol is nothing but the root. So that specifies the root. And home is nothing but the user. So under which thing the root. What is the important main drive like that? So that is nothing but the from home. Always Linux starts from the home, the core root, and the virtual box is nothing but the name of the system and where you're going to work, and the separator colon and the tilde symbol, it specifies again the where you're going to do it executed. And similarly the dollar symbol, so whatever the command you will type it everything after the dollar symbol. Now this is the second thing, is nothing but the bash is the keyword. You have to use it for executing the script sample.sh. Once you press enter, it will ask the question, and if you type the name as joy, again it will display because you're echo it. So how do you do joy? And see here, the comment line is there given. So how far you can type the remark statement is also. So just like this, you can use your shell script. Now let us move. Any doubts in the shell script? Just an overview I had shown you how to work. That is how to open, how to type it, how to close, how to save it, and how to execute. That's all I had shown you. The most probably the command which are used is echo for printing and read for reading. Any doubts, students? Any doubts? The
No,
shell
ma'am.
script. Can I move to the yes? One by one. Just one person at a time unmute and raise the question. Yes. Anything else? Can we move it quickly?
Ma'am,
Any doubts?
ma'am, what is difference between Linux and Windows, ma'am?
That's what I given in the previous slide itself. In the very beginning, I had given you Windows is nothing but the you have to buy it, but the Linux it is a open source, and Windows it's very vulnerable to viruses, but Linux it won't affect the most of the viruses. It's very tedious to to hack the Linux OS, and these are all the main difference between the Windows and the Linux. Just
Okay,
now you
ma'am.
started listening the okay, very nice. The previous slide I had given the differences. Any other doubts? Any
No,
other
ma'am.
doubts? Okay, now let us see about the previously we had just seen a file management, directory management. Here with the help of the shell scripting, how far the file and directory is managed. Let us see some few commands. See here, $ls. ls is nothing but it will list. So whatever the files which are available in the bin, everything will be listed. So that is the purpose of using the ls command in your shell script. And similarly, -l, that is nothing but the detail listing will be there. So for detail listing is, I think you're able to differentiate the previous image and this image. Just if you press ls, the file name alone with the extension will be displayed. Do you understand? But -l, if you given the detail, each and every file, when it was created, who is the owner, what are the permission is assigned, and which date and time, everything will be displayed. That is the difference between ordinary ls and ls-l. And similarly, how you can create a file command touch. Touch is the command which is used to create the content of the file can be displayed. That thing can be done with the command named cat. So just typing a cat, this is the command keyword, and after cat you can type your file name .sh, and automatically the contents inside that file will be displayed in the screen. Similarly, you can copy a file. The copy means a duplicate is also be available. That is meaning of copy. That is photocopy. Xerox. Often you'll call it as Xerox, but it is not a correct word. Xerox is the name of the company which has developed the photocopy machine. But we are always used to say Xerox. Iraqis don't use Xerox. The exact word is photocopy. Photocopy means the duplicate will be there. And similarly, the duplicate file can be created. For that, you should use the word called copy. How? What is the command is used? CP is the command which is used for making a duplicate file. What is the file rule which is used, protocol which is used for copy? That is CP, then the source file name. So which file you have to make it as duplicate one. So that file name, source file name, then the destination file name. So that is the thing you have to give. Automatically the two files will exist now. Then the moving a file. Moving means just you are moved from one place to the another place. So here it will not be duplicated, but the location will be changed. So that thing can be done with the help of mv command. Move the particular source file to the destination file. So this is the difference between cp and mv command. Then the file can be renamed. How you can rename? With the help of the same mv command. So you can rename it. How? The file name, the already existing file name, and the new file name. So that is the thing. File name is compulsory should be given with an .sh. So automatically the name will be renamed. And deleting a file is very simple. rm is the command which is used to remove your file in the shell script. And so far, previously, what we had seen is related to the file. Now let us see, have a glimpse about the directory, just about the directory management. So what is the directory management? Of course, in directory management, you can move the file from one drive to the another drive. You can copy, you can delete. So you can also identify, navigate the directory. So which one is the parent directory? From where you have to set all those things you can done. For that, these are the things which are used, the command. For creation of directory, we can use mkdir and the name of the file. With the help of the dollar symbol, the name of the file you can give it. That is, if here in Linux, everything is considered as the file. So that's why I'm naming here as the file. I'm not mentioning C drive or E drive or F drive. Here I am calling it as the file. Yes, in Linux, you have to say everything as the file. And what is the command which is used now? mkdir. Similarly, you can rename the directory also. Rename directory is nothing but all the folder names. So the see here, the mv is the command the same way, whatever the file you can done it. Here also you can use it as the mv and see the original directory, the name of the folder. Directory, always keep it in our mind as a folder in the Windows. And the original directory has to be a new directory. Similarly, copy, you can move, you can delete, and of course you can navigate also. So that's all about the shell script and the with the help of the file and the directory, with the help of the shell, you can manage all this file and security with the help of the commands. Now let us see about the important thing about the security. So yes, I had said Linux is very much secure when compared to other operating system. Why? Because here it is managed with the two ways. What are the two levels it is managed? How far it is? The authorization is divided into two. One is ownership and permission. Ownership is nothing but the user. Sorry, students. The three-way it can be owners. Three types of owners are there. One is user, group, and other. The users, an ordinary user, called as the person who create a file is called as the user. The group is nothing but in the specific part, that is nothing but, for example, in the same folder, different files will be available, but they are grouped all together. So that is nothing but the group. They can share it. So that is the main thing of group. We can call it as a multiple users. Then the others are nothing but the all others, whoever it may be, the users and as well as the groups in the everybody is in these systems are called as the others. And there is a shortcut keyword used UGO. U is nothing but user owner, G is group owner, O is an others, and A meaning all, everybody. If you're given as an A, meaning user can also access, group is also group, the person or available in the group is also accessed, the other person can also access. So this is nothing but the ownership. Now the second level is nothing but permission. Of course, you can grant a permission. Either user level you can grant the permission, or the group level you can grant the permission, or for others, or for the entire, for all the persons you can grant the permission. The file permissions can be granted. In what way granted? The three ways. So read, write, and execute. So these are the three things you can grant the permission. Either you can grant for read alone, or you can grant a read and write, or you can grant the permission for all the things, read, write, and execute. So these are the permissions. Now let us see, for example, how far it is defined abhina using octal permissions. What is the octal permissions? See here, read, write, execute. R stands for read, W stands for write, X stands for execute. So the first three things is assigned to user. The second three things is assigned to group. The third three things is assigned to others. See here how far it is also can be represented in the numerical format. 4 for read it is 4, for write it is 2, for execute it is 1. If you are not giving any permission, then you can assign it as 0. See here, 4 plus 2 plus 1, 7. If you are writing a 7, then it is said to be for you, for your offering all the three permissions to the particular person. And similarly, the permissions can also be added, the permissions can also be removed, and also you can override the permission also. So that this can be done. And how the permissions can be changed with the help of chmod. It's a command which is used to change the permissions for each and every file. So it's very important one. Now let us have one example. So these are all the things about the permissions. With the help of the permissions and the owners, you can give an security to each and every file in your shell scripts, in your Linux. Now let us see about the conditional execution. The conditional executions, how far you can make a condition to execute abina with the help of the piping and filtering. Piping is nothing but you can get the execution from the one to the another one. That is, from the one program, the output of the one program may be taken as the input for the another program, and combinedly you can execute. So that is nothing but conditional execution. I think so in the 5th unit you will learn conditional execution. With the help of the piping and filters you can do it. So how the piping, see here, command 1 and command 2, that both the thing can be combined with the help of the pipe symbol. For example, see here ls. Ls is the thing which is used to list all the files in your particular directory. And more is which is another command which takes the input of the ls command and will executes the and gives the standard output of the more command. So these are all the things can be done with the help of the filters. So filters is nothing but whatever the input is taken by the standard input stream, and similarly the output so comes out the standard output streams. So combining these things, you can perform the piping and the filter operation with the help of gret, mode, sort, all those things can be done. So these are all some of the commands you can implement the pipe and the filters. And see some examples I had given here, how far it is sorted, all the commands, the thing which is given. So I had rushed at the end part. And if you are having any queries so far what we had seen, just you can raise it. I will clarify. Just 2 minutes for clearing the queries. Students, anybody is having any query, just you can clarify. Any queries you cite? Students, anyone can respond that side? Ma'am, Suranjini ma'am?
Yes, ma'am. Okay.
Ma'am, the query irka ma'am, students ku?
அம்மா ஸ்டூடெண்ட்ஸ் ஏதோ கொஸ்டின் இருந்தால் மேம் கிட்ட கேளுங்க. ஸ்டூடெண்ட்ஸ்,
No queries. No
Any
queries,
queries?
ma'am.
Okay, pa. Now can I wind up my session?
எஸ் மேம், தேங்க்யூ மேம். மேம் 1 மினிட் மேம்,
Okay,
ஃபீட்பேக் லிங்க்
before, wait,
மட்டும் ஐ
wait,
வில்
just a
சென்ட்.
minute. Okay, before that,
ஓகே ஓகே.
so I have to thank the management and thank Prabha ma'am. Because of her, I am with you students. She has given me an opportunity to share my Linux very simple knowledge with you. And once again, I will thank the management and the Prabha ma'am and also Swaranjini ma'am. She has helped me a lot to share with you. Thank you very much.
தேங்க்யூ மேம்.
Prabha
Thank
ma'am
you so
இருக்காங்களா?
much, ma'am.
மேம் சொல்லுங்க மேம்.
மேம் பிரபா மேம்கிட்ட பேசலாமா? மேம் எப்படி இருக்கீங்க?
மேம் நல்லா இருக்கு மேம். தேங்க்யூ மேம்.
Okay, thank you very much, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Because of you, I had have this opportunity. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you very
தேங்க்யூ
much.
மேம். தேங்க்யூ.
Thank you. Thank you. Feedback, students from side. Any feedback?
Thank you so much, ma'am, for giving us such a useful session in
Oh,
your busy
feedback.
schedule. And you really made us to learn new thing today, ma'am.
Okay.
Next, I would call upon Keetana from 2nd BCA for delivering the vote of thanks.
A warm and graceful good afternoon to one all gathered here for webinar on Linux Torvalds. It's my privilege to propose vote of thanks on this special occasion on behalf of Pioneer College of Arts and Science, Department of Computer Application. I would like to thank our most valuable chief guest, Dr. M.Subha, Assistant Professor and Head Department of Computer Application, Excel College for Commerce and Science, Kumarapalayam, Namakkal District, who spared her valuable time from the busy schedule to grace this occasion. I extend my sincere thanks to Management Committee, respected Principal Sir, Academic Coordinator Ma'am, Vice Principal Sir, worthy faculties, and my dear friends gathered here for their patient listening and made this webinar on great success. Once again, thank you all and one and all.
Ma'am, thank you
Thank
so much,
you,
ma'am.
students, for your patient listening. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
ஸ்டூடெண்ட்ஸ் ஃபீட்பேக் லிங்க் chat பாக்ஸில் போட்டிருக்கோம், எல்லோரும் ஃபில் பண்ணிடுங்க. ஸ்டூடெண்ட்ஸ் ஃபீட்பேக் லிங்க் ஃபில் பண்ணிடுங்கம்மா. மேம் தேங்க்யூ ஸோ மச் மேம்.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Okay, ma'am. I'll come in off.
ஓகே மேம், தேங்க்யூ மேம்.